So we are in probably, in my opinion, one of the most popular passages in all of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37.
Oh yeah, we've been singing a lot of songs about this lately.
Yes. In fact, just this morning, we had a verse, related to Ezekiel 37. Anybody remember what that was? Yes, absolutely. We're going to walk through this a little bit. I'm not going to do a huge review like I've been doing. And who knows, we may get out of here early. Like I said, I've been doing softball and finance meetings, so my brain is, we'll see. Let's see how this goes. But what is important to remember as we are about to dive into this is we're in the hope-filled portion for Israel specifically. Hope-filled portion for Israel specifically. What is one of the promises that was made that would fill Israel with hope in the previous chapters? You may have to look back a couple.
Because he will cleanse Israel.
Okay, he's going to cleanse Israel. Yep.
He'll be their God and they'll be his people.
Uh-huh. Yep. So he's going to set that relationship right. Chapter 34, what promises he made?
Cover your skin and put breath into you?
Well, that's 37. Chapter 34, specifically, he makes a promise.
He'll be the shepherd and they'll be the flock.
Exactly. So there's going to be a new shepherd. The new shepherd is going to be God himself because the old shepherds have been not great. Not been great at all. So chapter 34, we've got a new shepherd. And then we find out in a few chapters, what else do we find out? In 36. Second half of chapter 36. Second half of 36.
Promises renewal.
Promises renewal, yeah. In what way? He's going to give. So if the problem in 34 is the shepherds have been messed up and have led them astray, so the answer is he's going to give them a new shepherd. It's going to be him. The problem in 36, what does your title say above verse 22? Okay. Anybody else have a different title?
I will put my spirit within you.
There you go. Say that louder.
I will put my spirit within you.
Here's an issue. Y'all need new hearts and new spirits. Right? New heart, new spirit. What's the problem with the heart here? Anybody remember?
It's a heart of stone.
Yes.
He wants to give it a heart of flesh.
Yes. So here's this unfolding. We just watched everything unfold here. They're in Babylon. We now know Jerusalem has been destroyed ultimately. So now we've shifted gears. We're going to start looking at how God is going to fix this problem. Now this is important because the question is, when is he going to do this? Right now, of course, we can't help but look at this from 2026 eyes. So we're a little skewed here. That's hard to say. But try to place yourself in this time period. You're reading these things. Did that get you? You okay? Okay. You're reading these things with fresh eyes, pre-Jesus. You're questioning, okay, well, everything seems hopeless, but there's some promises that are being made. When is this going to happen at this point? Chapter 37 is going to keep building on this. So here we have this new shepherd. The new shepherd, what's that fancy term that the Jews would be looking for? Yes. Here we go. We got this Messianic promise, right? This Messianic promise is going to take place. However, there's a problem with the people, an internal problem that's taking place with the people, so we need internal transformation that's going to take place here in chapter 36. And the next thing we need now is we need a people. Right? We need a people. We've got the Messianic leader. We've got the internal personal transformation that's going to take place. And the next thing is, what about the people? Because what's the state of the people right now?
Messed up.
Yeah, they're messed up. Where are they?
Babylon.
Not just Babylon.
They're all over the place.
They're everywhere. They're all over. I mean, it's a disaster. We got a whole northern tribe, a whole northern nation that's, and then a whole southern nation that's all split up. And we'll find out in later books that some of them remained, and some of them went to Egypt, and some of them went to Babylon, and they started intermixing and intermingling, and it's like, what happened to the people? And the reason why the people are really, really important is because the whole story of humanity seems to be riding on this storyline of that nation of Israel, who will bring forth the new Messianic king, the new Messianic shepherd, and that will ultimately fix or correct all of these storylines that are taking place here. And so this is what we're going to be dealing with here. So we're just going to kind of chunk this out, and I need somebody to read chapter 37, verses 1 through 6.
The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out of the spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know. Then he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I'll make breath enter you, and you will become to life. I will attach tendons to you, and make flesh come upon you, and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord.
All right, what's your initial thoughts when hearing this? Anything stand out? Any questions that you had?
The people were spiritually dead.
The people were spiritually dead. I'm really glad that you categorized it like that. They were spiritually dead, right? Because that is going to be an important thing here that we're going to talk about. So remember that. People are spiritually dead. What else?
I was actually thinking that the Ruach came through and put life in them. It's almost the story of at the very first of Genesis.
Good and good. Those two together, we're going to definitely talk about here shortly. Perfect. What is the Ruach, though? You gotta.
Breath.
Not everybody is as
Wind,
Hebrew.
breath.
Not everybody's a Hebrew scholar like you, Scott. Okay. So the Ruach means
Breath.
breath. There's three meanings actually. Wind.
Spirit.
There you go. Breath, wind, and spirit. The Ruach, right? The Ruach is there's a triple meaning there. It's going to be used interchangeably here. It is obviously being used here for a moment. Anything else stand out? I immediately loved his answer. What was his?
It's not even that hazard a guess anymore.
He's like, you know. Oh, God, you know.
Yeah.
I love that answer. I don't know. I thought that was funny. Okay, so here we go. We got a people. Now we need to take care of the people. So there's going to be a resurrection that's taking place. So the question is, what is being resurrected? Yeah, who, more importantly. Who is being resurrected? What does this mean?
You know.
That was great. That was...
The way we often do.
Yeah.
Both like literal
Mm-hmm.
in the time that it's happening, so
Mhm.
temporally contextual statement
Yeah.
of reality, what the Lord is going to do to the Israel kingdom, nation at the time. But we should also think of it in the way that God often speaks to us, where he symbolically shows us the future.
Yes.
Collectively, for those he has chosen, for the Calvinists, for those who choose him,
Yeah.
for the Arminians, and individually for each one of us. Like this is how God operates.
Yep. Yes, it's both and, which is why it is important to put yourself in that same time frame, Israelite mindset, because if you're hearing these words, you're hearing the hope, you're hearing the hope of resurrection, and right now what you're hearing is that Israel will rise again. The people will rise again. Now why, some of y'all are in my Sunday morning discussion group, we just started a Ezra-Nehemiah study. Why would this be jarring for people during Ezra and Nehemiah's time period who have now been, they're living longer after Ezekiel. Persia is now taken over Babylon, and now Persia is going to allow them to come back. They know these promises are going to take place. Why would this be jarring to those around the same time periods of them and the generations following them? What do we know about Israel after they head back?
You rebuild.
Yep, they rebuild. Rebuild the temple, rebuild the walls, the city. And what do we know about those things?
Incomplete.
They're incomplete. They're not great. In fact, the glory of God never comes down into that third temple. The big Messianic king who is going to come and save all the world, who is that in Ezra-Nehemiah and beyond? Pre-Jesus, of course. We don't know. There's a big ... that's taking place. So if you're in Israel's mindset during this time, you're thinking, when is this happening? Of course, we don't live in that time. We live in a further down the line time, so we'll come back to that here shortly. But he's being led into this view, into this vision, where he is seeing a bunch of dead and dry bones. Why also would that be a big deal for Ezekiel? Knowing what you know about Ezekiel personally.
He's a priest. He's not supposed to touch dry bones.
Yeah. Don't touch anything dead. You're gonna have to cleanse yourself for a whole week. And I mean, this would be a big deal, to a priest walking around a valley of dry bones. Why do you think the imagery is being used for a valley? By the way, have you ever thought about that?
Valley of the shadow of death.
Okay, the valley of the shadow of death. Why do you think? Well, let's go down that. We're good students of Scripture. We think there's a theme there, so we just start brainstorming. Okay, so there's a mention of a valley here, dry bones. You immediately tie it to the valley of the shadow of death in Psalm 23. Can you think of anything else that might relate to that? Think Israelite mindsets and how they saw the world. Think biblical cosmologies.
Sheol.
Huh?
Sheol.
Okay, Sheol, which is
Hell.
okay.
Where the dead be.
The under the dead, yeah, the land or the realm of those who aren't living, right? Under the dirt, under the dust. Sheol is kind of that cosmology. So under the dirt. So valley of the shadow of death is like deepest pits of the earth in the physical realm. Closest to Sheol, it would be similar to like Jonah being thrown over into the great abyss, like into the depths of the oceans. He's still in the physical world, but it's representative of that underworld, death, experiencing death while still being on this physical world.
But isn't the valleys where life happens and growth and everything? I mean, generally, as compared to the mountains?
Okay, yes, there is some truth to that. In fact, Abraham and Lot, if you remember, Lot's looking down in this whole valley system area, and he's like, that thing is all green and luscious and beautiful and amazing, which is ironic because if you look at the satellite now, it's not. It's absolutely been destroyed for stories that would come later. But, okay, so if the valleys are where the growing and stuff goes, okay, then what's the opposite of the valleys? Mountaintops. What do you know about mountaintops in Israelite view?
Closer to God.
It's the realm of the gods, like the closest to where you can see the gods that are up there versus down here. This is like the same across pretty much almost every culture. Think Egyptian pyramids, man-made mountains. Think Babylonian ziggurats, man-made mountains. Think Babylon. That's what the idea here is, that the mountaintops are where the powerful live. And I think it goes along the lines with what Jim is saying here, because they can live there. In order to live on the mountaintops, you would need an entire system of needing to have adequate water, adequate trash removal, adequate security. Obviously, being up on the mountain is going to help you. Adequate food. And who's going to truck all that stuff up the mountains?
People in the valley, I guess.
The slaves. The slaves are going to do that, not the rich. The rich ain't going up and down them things with the donkey, right? So this mindset has developed where the mountaintops is where the rich and the powerful live. In Babylonian imagery, there's very similar pictures that are still drawn about like Nebuchadnezzar and stuff, and not hieroglyphics, but whatever the version of hieroglyphics would be for
Uniform.
cuneiform. Okay, yeah. pictures of Nebuchadnezzar and stuff, and he's got this great massive temple on a mountain with a garden, a great big Garden of Eden type thing that's down in the valley. This is all imagery that's in their minds. So for him to say that it's a valley of dry bones, it's actually got a lot of theological background to this, that if you place yourself in this position, for him to say valley alone is already going to say a lot about the area. This is not the place of the rich. This is the place of the poor. This is the valley of death. This is the closest to Sheol you're going to get, right? This is on this physical earth, except he takes it a step further, and they are in Sheol because they're a bunch of bones, right? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Everybody's going to return back to that dirt, back to that dust that we were formed out of, and we'll come back to Genesis 2 here shortly. Any questions before we move on here? Okay, somebody read 7 through 10.
So I spoke this message just as he told me. Suddenly as I spoke, there was a rattling noise all across the valley. The bones of each body came together and attached themselves as complete skeletons. Then, as I watched, muscles and flesh formed over the bones. Then skin formed to cover their bodies, but they still had no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Speak a prophetic message to the winds, Son of man. Speak a prophetic message and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, O breath, from the four winds, breathe into the dead bodies so they may live again." So I spoke the message as he commanded me, and breath came into their bodies. They all came to life and stood up on their feet, a great army.
Okay, what stood out there?
The Ruach in all three forms.
The Ruach in all three forms. Here's the Spirit, speak to the winds, breathing the breath of life. Yep. Okay, what else? Yeah, he's bringing the dead back to life, right? He's bringing the dead from the dirt. He's put them back together. You have this physical creation, and then he himself is going to breathe life. God himself is going to breathe new life into these people. They're going to become a living creature.
But why does it say they are a vast army? Does that mean they're going to be warriors or something?
Well, that is a good question. That is a great question that he's not going to answer right here.
This reminds me of the old Jason and the Argonauts,
We have to
where they
wait.
had the guys come out of the grave and the skeletons were fighting.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You did show me that. That's a really old thing with bones coming up and fight. Yeah, Okay. Okay, so there's some questions that you're developing here. If you're ancient Israelite and today, right? Who are the people? Why are they an army? What does that mean? Obviously, God is doing something. There was something physically wrong with them. They were dead. Somebody read verse 11 through 14, then we'll sort of go into more of the explanation here.
Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is lost. We are indeed cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will open your graves and raise you from your graves, O my people, and I will bring you into the land of Israel.
All right, what do you think? Okay, say it.
They're his people.
Okay, we're talking about his people. This is the whole house of Israel. They're going to be resurrected. They're going to be brought back into the land. Great, right? Great. That's all good news if you're an ancient Israelite, right?
And they're going to probably die again.
Say that louder.
They're probably going to die again.
There remains a problem.
They got no relationship with who's doing this for them, sounds like.
Okay. Here we go. We've got problems. Ezra-Nehemiah happens after this. Did he show up? Okay, that's kind of a trick question.
It's not during
He's going already there. The Messianic figure from the line of David in fulfillment, did he show up at the rebuild when Ezra and Nehemiah
No.
take place? No. Did this get fixed?
No.
Absolutely not. In fact, it quite goes the opposite direction with Ezra-Nehemiah. They end up in the same place, basically, that they already were. What good was this, and is this really what he meant? Right? These are all questions that you're looking at. He's talking about the house of Israel, quote unquote. He's raising up an army. What did that army do? Like, what did that have to do, Ezra-Nehemiah? Even all the way up to Jesus. What did that mean? And depending on where you are in history is going to help determine sort of what you think that's going to mean. And I think what Chad says is there's going to be multiple layers of meaning here. So there is going to be a resurrection that takes place. Obviously, he's talking to a people who are hearing this and answering back and excited about this. They're not dead yet. So is he speaking about just a people group? Is he going to raise up a new people group that's going to be under that same line of that covenantal relationship with the people who will bring that Messiah? What is he talking about? And then he's going to place them back in Eden.
There's a Davidic king coming.
There is a Davidic
I'm
king
not
coming.
trying
Yes.
to hit.
No.
But you can read it. He shows up.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so what's happening here is he's using language that's going to make sense to people who are good Bible students. There's a resurrection that's taking place. Now, the resurrection is a big deal. What do we know? Let's go back in this pattern here about the start of new life. We already brought it up in Genesis chapter 2. So what occurs in Genesis chapter 2 that kind of relates to this exact same passage here? God comes and he forms man. Forms the man. What's he forming out of? Out of dust. Like, get some water, put some mud together, there's a man, right? Doesn't just stop there. What's the next thing he does?
Breathes life.
He breathes life into this energizing thing. And where is this all taking place?
Garden of Eden.
No.
Well, I don't know where.
It's taking place in Eden, but not the garden. Because if you go back to Genesis chapter 2, it says he takes the man and he places him back into this land. Now, it doesn't say in Genesis chapter 2, but later on, you know what the biblical authors relay Eden as topographically? It's a mountain. Just like the new Jerusalem that's going to come. Oh, great Mount Zion. You hear these? Here we go. Now we're in that biblical mindset back then. The mountains versus the valleys. The meeting place, so the overlap of those two concentric circles, right? Of heaven and earth is the mountaintop, right? And here's Eden. And he takes man and he forms him out of the dust of the ground, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, Sheol, the land of non-living. By the way, if you read Genesis chapter 3, the outcome of the serpent is that he's going to fall to his belly and eat dust his whole life. Does that mean snakes walked and talked, or is there something more possibly to that a heavenly creature fell to the land of death? The terrestrial, like what we live in now, the land that is all ashes to ashes, back to dust, right? He's going to live here, and he's going to eat this all the days of his life until the serpent will ultimately be crushed by the seed of the woman. So here we go. There's this picture in Genesis chapter 2 of the man who's been taken, he's been formed, he's had life, vitality breathed into him, and then he's placed into the overlap of heaven and earth where he gets to walk and talk with God himself all the day long. But it's not good. Why is it not good? What's the first not good part? It was not good for him to be alone. Right. So what happens? God puts him to sleep, and he makes Eve. So now he looks at this, and he's woman. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. The trouble begins. Well, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Why would it not be good for man to be alone without woman? And don't speculate in 2026. Think earlier in the Bible to Genesis chapter 2. Huh? Okay. They can't be fruitful, multiply, so they can't fulfill the blessings that God has given them. And what do we know about Genesis chapter 1 regarding man and creation? What was special about man in Genesis chapter 1?
He's going to rule the beast.
Okay. I think I heard it. He was made in his own image. And what does that image look like?
Don't know. Both.
Humans were made in his image, and that image looks like male and female. So we have the one image of God reflected in the two creatures. So now you get to Genesis chapter 2. Here's the man who's been formed out of the dust. He gets placed in Eden, and it is not good because he's alone. We don't have the fulfillment or the fullness of God's image in his creature. So he puts him to sleep, makes the woman out of his side, and now we have two, and the two can now be fruitful and multiply and become many. Okay? I want you to keep all this in mind. I promise this is all going to start to tie together. However, we know Genesis chapter 3, it takes one chapter, and they've already completely failed. And what is the outcome of that failure? According to the promise that God made to man and the deceit that the serpent himself is going to use.
Got thrown out of the garden.
Okay, we filled in the meaning there, but what does God say specifically? Side note, he says this to Adam alone before he makes Eve. What does God tell Adam would happen if he eats of the... You will surely die. You will surely die. Now, cut to, Adam apparently has not done a good job and taught his wife not to eat that tree because you will surely die. And now Eve's been tempted, and now we've both fallen as one major imager, right? And what happens immediately after they partake of the fruit?
Their eyes are open.
Their eyes are open, and what do they realize? They're naked. We'll come back to that. I promise. We'll come back to that. Did they surely die?
Yes.
Spiritually.
Technically, no.
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Technically,
Yes.
Technically, no.
Yes, 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 yes. You're right on all those rights. Now, how do we explain this? Yeah.
Let's hang on to the Jim's thing. Like, they did die physically, not instantaneously, right? But they absolutely died physically. And as far as we know, prior to this fall, there's no death, right? The man and the woman, the humankind, which is man and woman together, they don't experience death. We don't even know how long they were there. Like, it's one page in my Bible.
Yeah.
But I don't have there's no indication of how much time has passed. And then after that, not only do they experience spiritual death, but they also now experience physical death. It becomes inevitable for almost everyone.
Yeah, emphasis on almost everyone. What did you say this morning? Death and taxes aren't inevitable. How did you say it?
You get out of them.
Yes, you're going to eventually get out of them. Like, it's going to happen, right? You're going to experience something. Now, we explain this in multiple ways. Yes, he's right. Yes, I think you're also right according to how we're looking at it. They did not surely die that day.
That day, yes.
In the physical sense. Now, another 980 years later, yeah, Adam's going to go back to dust, right? However, they did do something that we've kind of filled in the blanks, and we say they become spiritually dead. So think of it like this. There's two kind of types of creation. We'll call it humanity 1.0. The idea of humanity 1.0 is man is formulated out of the dust, right? And out of the dust, he is breathed new life into him, and then he is becomes a living creature. That's humanity 1.0. Out of the dust, breathe new life, and he becomes a new creature. The problem is that physical thing has he's made of physical stuff, and what we know according to modern science is that physical stuff eventually decays and stops being alive. Okay? So humanity 1.0. The fix to that is humanity 2.0, where Adam and Eve now exist in a spot where they have access to something. And what is that access? The living creature has been now taken and placed in a garden. And what do they have access to that was removed from them?
God.
Yes, kind of, but think. I heard it.
Tree of life.
Tree of life.
The tree of life. So humanity 2.0 is the living creature plus the tree of life equals somehow a potential for eternal life. So now what happens is because Adam and Eve choose to listen to their own ways instead of listening to God's ways, he was not trying to withhold from them knowledge of good and bad. In fact, he was teaching them and training them that the true source of good and bad when telling them don't partake in that. Because they chose to do things their own way, now we have life 2.0, humanity 2.0 is no more at this moment. Oh, big problem. We got to fix this, right? But humanity 1.0, okay, well, you still have the breath of life in you. We're all still breathing today in this room. So how do we get from humanity 1.0 back to 2.0? Yes. Yes. 100%. The cross. If you're back here, there's multitude of beliefs. Most of it rely on, are you going to follow the word of the Lord? Are you going to listen to the word of the Lord? Are you going to do what Adam and Eve didn't do? You're still going to experience death, though. It's probably going to happen, unless you're lucky like Elijah or Enoch. You're going to experience death. And in that death, you then, if you've done well, you will then get to experience humanity 2.0. You're going to become a new living creature. You're going to have re-access to this tree of life, cut forward to the end of Revelation. However, all of humanity 1.0 are still dying. And in Ezekiel 37, he's going to talk about, hey, there's going to be a new resurrection that takes place. He's going to reform the people just like he did Adam and Eve. He's going to breathe new life into them. He's going to lead them himself, and he's going to fix that internal transformation problem. This is like humanity 2.0 experienced like right now. Except we know the story. It doesn't end there. They go back. Ezra-Nehemiah is pretty lame, honestly, in this as a follow-up story to going on beyond here. And then you get to Jesus, and of course he's going to start to fill in all these pieces, and we'll come back to that here in a second.
So I'm still wondering, okay, so if I'm the average Jew and I'm saying it's talking about a resurrection, is it talking about the city being resurrected or the temple being and they think that's it. That's all there is to it. There is no new life.
Yeah. Let's find out what is going to be resurrected. Somebody go ahead and read. Let's just finish this whole section. Let's do 15 all the way to the end of the chapter. Somebody read 15 all the way to the end of the chapter.
The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, take a stick of wood and write on it, belonging to Judah and the Israelites associated with him. Then take another stick of wood and write on it Ephraim's stick, belonging to Joseph and all the house of Israel associated with him. Join them together into one stick so that they will become one in your hand. When your countrymen ask you, won't you tell us what you mean by this? Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am going to take the stick of Joseph, which is in Ephraim's hand, and of the Israelite tribes associated with him, and join it to Judah's stick, making them a single stick of wood, and they will become one in my hand. Hold before their eyes the sticks you have written on, and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will take the Israelites out of the nations where they have gone. I will gather them from all around and bring them back into their own land. I will make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel. There will be one king over all of them, and they will never again be two nations or be divided into two kingdoms. They will no longer defile themselves with their idols and vile images or with any of their offenses, for I will save them from all their sinful backsliding, and I will cleanse them. They will be my people, and I will be their God. My servant David will be king over them, and they will all have one shepherd. They will follow my laws and be careful to keep my decrees. They will live in the land I gave to my servant Jacob, the land where your fathers lived. They and their children and their children's children will live there forever, and David my servant will be their prince forever. I will make a covenant of peace with them. It will be an everlasting covenant. I will establish them and increase their numbers, and I will put my sanctuary among them forever. My dwelling place will be with them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Then the nations will know that I, the Lord, make Israel holy, when my sanctuary is among them forever.
Okay, initial thoughts.
They're in heaven. They've left this earth and gone into another realm.
Okay, that is one way of seeing that. And eventually, yes. But before that, what's going to happen?
No idea.
Thank you.
tribes together to be one.
Okay. Here we go. We've got a resurrection. We've got a reunion. He's going to bring the tribes together in this little visual, picturesque thing in the form of two sticks. He's going to bring these two sticks together, and the two sticks are then going to become one. Okay? The outcome of this is then what? There's going to be a new covenant, a covenant of peace, and he's going to rebuild a new sanctuary in their midst, quote unquote. And it'll be there forever. There'll be a new David that will be ruling them forever. If you're an Israelite, up through Jesus, has that happened yet?
No.
Nope. In fact, many Jews today still don't think that has happened. We have the hindsight, which will help us. What's happened, though, is he's taking these themes that we've already drawn upon, and he's now kind of expanding those out to whole nations and whole people, and depending on where you are, is how you're going to read this. So, for instance, the image of God looks like what? 2. So the one image is shown up in male and female. Chapter 2, it's not good for the one to be alone. So the one is going to be put to sleep, and out of the one will become the 2. The 2 will then leave their mother and father and become one. The one will then make many, hopefully, fruitful and multiply, right? Except we immediately see the very next generation of that. You've quoted a couple times now. Cain. Good job, Cain. What'd you do? Now we got the 2 brothers.
I hated my brother as long as I was able to.
Oh, nailed it. Nailed it. Okay, that was so lame. The 2 brothers who belong to the same family have now been jealous and has murdered one. Oh no. Okay, great. Now we've already broken it here. That's going to be played out in multiple ways, over and over and over again. And the opportunity is for the 2 to be one, and then being one, they will then reflect God. And what we don't see is that happening. In fact, the 2 become many, the many constantly are fighting, and now the many have been scattered, spread, and killed into oblivion by the time Ezekiel's here. And there's no imaging of God going on here. Their purpose is literally to do that on behalf of the rest of humanity. And they're not doing it to each other. You would be a kingdom of priests. Instead, you become a kingdom with priests, right? And so now, think about it this way. This has been the problem from the start. We talked about the fall of man. Right in Genesis chapter 3, the very first thing that took place was what? They ate the fruit and immediately, what? Their eyes were open and they were naked. Have you ever thought about why that's the case? What's the first thing they do? They realize they're naked. What do? They immediately make fig leaves, right, to cover themselves. Have you ever thought about why? They tried to hide. Have you ever thought about why? Why would that, in this theme of the 1 become 2, become 1, become 2, become many, become 2, 1, all that theme, why is becoming naked suddenly going to put a wrench in that theme? Because suddenly there's 2 individuals who both together image God, but realize they are very different. You don't look like me. In fact, I feel the need to hide this from you. And the moment I feel that I need to hide this from you, that means there's shame involved. And as soon as there's shame involved, that means there's somebody who can take advantage of that shame. And now you extrapolate that into all the nations, and now you've got kings who are like, I'm living on the mountain, slaves, you're lesser than me. You bring me up my food. Right? Because you are something that I am not. I am greater and better than you, and I will overtake you, and I will win, and I will blah, 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 whatever. Insert whatever. It all comes back to that same thing. It's we were meant, humanity 2.0 potential, we were meant to reflect the image of God by being together and unified, and in doing so, we will then show what God is. Which is why, once you get to that New Testament, I've quoted it a million times in the last couple of weeks, in the high priestly prayer. What is Jesus' prayer? Like, what is he praying for those who are going to live beyond the disciples, who will come to know who Jesus is from those beyond? What is his prayer in the high priestly prayer?
They become one as God and Jesus are one.
That they will reflect the image-bearing capabilities of humanity 2.0 right now. And in doing so, it will become the gospel to all of those in the nations. He says it will be... Let me just turn there. Why am I even just summarizing? John chapter 16, 19, 16, 17. There you go. Let's see if you hear this. Verse 20. I do not ask for these, he's talking about the disciples, I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. So that the world will believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I and them, and you and me, that they may become perfectly one, so that the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you love me. This is going to be the best chance for discipleship, is if they are one, because we reflect that image-bearing quality of who God is, who Jesus and God are, to the world. And that does not happen. Immediately, we are segmented here between two storylines, and then his family is going to immediately split. It's going to continue to split till you get to 12 brothers who really just do not do well together. And luckily, those people are going to form an entire people group. And that entire people group are going to then eventually come together as one in one big nation, right? Woohoo, great, we did it. Awesome, good job, Solomon. We expanded the borders even as far as they possibly could go. And then immediately, one generation later, civil war. Northern, southern tribes, they split. And then immediately, northern tribes gone, southern tribes now in exile, and the problem just is on repeat. So here's the promise of Ezekiel. You're in Ezekiel's time, you're reading this, you get to go back, and you're going, when, and when. And now we look through the eyes of the revelation of Jesus. And we'll use Paul's words to talk about this, okay? So go to Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 5. Oh, I mean, it's Ephesians chapter 2, I'm sorry. Ephesians chapter 2. Anybody know what this is about? What's Paul's letter of Ephesians? Like, if you could summarize it all into like one sentence.
I should know that.
I know, you should. I know, it's really hard. We've been made alive in Christ, and therefore... Well, let's talk about the mystery. Ephesians chapter 3 then. This is like the pivot point in Ephesians. This is sort of what scholars will call like the purpose statement of Ephesians. Starting verse 3. How the mystery was made known to me by revelation, as I have written briefly. When you read this, you can perceive my insight into the mystery of Christ, which was not made to the sons of men in other generations, as it has now been revealed to his holy apostles and prophets in the Spirit. And here's the mystery. Verse 6. This mystery, that the Gentiles are what?
Heirs.
Fellow heirs, members of the same body, and partakers of the promise of Christ Jesus through the gospel. Now what has happened here has now revealed what was supposed to take place all the way back here, or had the chance to take place, and is now being revealed in this new humanity 2.0. And what does that look like? It looks like Gentile and Jew are now one. That gospel is on replay, that the two things that are very distinct, the chosen people of God and the rest of the humanity, those two things becoming one will be the greatest reflection of the gospel of Jesus Christ to the whole world. And Paul's view is going to continue to talk about this in Ephesians chapter 2, that we were made dead in our trespasses. Think Valley of Dry Bones. We were made dead in our trespasses. What's the result of that? We've now been made alive in Christ. The two distinct groups, the Jew and the Gentile, are the two sticks that will come together, Judah and Israel, and they will equal this one humanity, 2.0, and we will begin to serve the Messianic line of David through Jesus. We will experience that internal transformation, and in a way, we will experience a certain kind of resurrection. That is, we will experience humanity 2.0 as we exist on this earth until death is wiped away forever. Because we will all still experience that death until he decides to wipe that away forever. There's a reunification, not of just Israel, but of all the families of Israel, going back to pre-Abraham. Remember, Abraham, where did he come up out of?
Chaldean.
Yeah, Babylon. And now they're in Babylon again, except just as foreigners, right? The new covenant has been made, and the new sanctuary has been made, except what does that new sanctuary look like? Does it look like the building that's rebuilt on a sad mountain in Israel? No. What does Paul say? You are the building. How do we know that? Because the glory of God has filled the Holy of Holies. And what does that look like? He's taken our heart of stone and he's given us a new heart. And he's breathed new life into his people. This is why, I talked about this I think last week, this is why there's a weird passage where post-resurrection Jesus is standing in a room with his disciples and he looks at them and he breathes on them. And you're like, what in the world was that about? It was this. It's all representative of this whole thing, that we are stuck in that same cyclical pattern. And if you don't believe me, just drive down the street and notice all these churches. Notice all the buildings, notice all the names, notice all the people, and then do a further study and find out how many of those guys definitely don't talk to the ones that are across the street or down the street. In fact, some of them may even go as far as talking down about the ones who are down the street. We're in the same cyclical pattern of the two becoming separated and segmented and covering ourselves and taking advantage of the shame of the others. And what did Jesus say was the best representation of the gospel of the world? It's when we all become one.
Well, in him.
In him. Good. I like that. Yep. Yes, we shouldn't accept. Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's a different rabbit hole. I shouldn't go down. Okay, thoughts? Okay.
I think it's interestingly ironic that God basically gave us one rule, just one. He's like, here's the good, it's everything. Here's the evil, it's one thing. And the one thing was knowledge of good and evil. I mean, we've already been told in very simple terms that we're about the level of our stupidity that we could understand.
Yeah.
And we were so prideful that we're like, no, I need to know more than that. It is insufficient for me to trust the Lord's judgment and statement and decree about what is evil and what is good. I'm going to eat that. That's so fascinating to me because, we're not any different now.
I wonder, I always, tell me what you think about this. I've always seen Adam and Eve's fall as less of a prideful, arrogant, disobedient, and more of just a kid touching a hot pot after being told not to touch it, like a young kid. It's sort of a folly fall is the way that I look at that.
I see that as pride, but not pride like, hey, I'm really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Not that kind of pride.
Yeah.
But this pride that is more insidious and I think more dangerous, which is I can be trusted with more than God gave me. I can appreciate God's glory in a way that he didn't tell me to. He told me not to. I can substitute my judgment for what God has decreed.
Yep.
I can only see that as prideful.
Yep.
And I think it's really dangerous and that we're really susceptible to it.
The Prince of Tyre would agree.
I think if you break it down a little bit more, it was a rule, the rule itself could have been any tree,
Yeah.
it was, don't break the trust.
Yeah.
And then if you will take it, Adam and Eve have the appearance of being alone with this tree. And so God says, don't break the trust, and then it doesn't say he leaves, but then that's when they do it. I don't see it so much as a move of pride, but as an extreme move of selfishness. Because once it's always implied that Adam is always there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though his wife's going through this in a single moment,
Yeah.
it does say that she took it and gave it to her husband who was
Mhm.
with her, which he should have been leading from the front, not
Yep.
leading from behind. But he also knew the rule, and they both knew the rules because
Yeah.
they tested to see if, and I don't know what that looks like. It
Yeah.
says they tested it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they
Yeah.
tested it. I don't know if they gave it to, golden retriever, and that's why they're so smart or something. But they tested it, and it didn't drop dead.
Hmm.
So now, in their selfish minds, God's holding back. He's not telling us the truth. And ironically, why I said that, yeah, they died immediately.
Yeah.
Because all of the things that we talk about that are good things. You ever yell at your children, open up your eyes?
Yeah.
All of those things that we think are positive are portrayed as negatives.
Yeah.
Their eyes were opened. That sounds like it should be a good thing.
Yep.
Except they were opened and they knew they were dead.
Mm.
They'd broken the trust. And even though they didn't drop dead, they're spiritually dead. And if you've ever met somebody spiritually dead, they're hopeless,
Mm.
they're angry, they're depressed, they're broken. They're not people. They're just shells walking around. And like I said, we often, physically I'm not. Oh yeah, it just takes a long time for a dead soul to, it's like a tree. Yeah, the tree looks alive and it will bloom for many years, but that inside is rotten. It's dead. And even though it gives that appearance of life, but so many times we think we know better. And we've tested a little bit of the waters, dipped our toe in, and we think that we know better now. And that the repercussions, it's like a kid, when I messed up, I was promised a spanking.
Yeah.
And I got it. But I was never promised a spanking, hey, listen, I know you messed up, but when you're 30, I'll go ahead and give it to you.
Yeah.
They were dead that moment. They broke the trust. They realized that it destroyed everything. They didn't drop dead right then, but in that moment, they knew everything was broken.
Yeah.
Their relationship between each other is broken. That's why they're hiding from God, because their relationship with Him is broken. They're not going to be able to raise their children. Notice who was missing in the story of Cain and Abel. Mom and dad.
Yep.
Not to say that they're better parents than God, because God's like, hey, sin's crouching at your door, but you got my man.
Yeah.
They're dead.
Yeah.
And they're just now realizing just how significant that really is. And it's overwhelming for them.
A lot of the Sermon on the Mount is really dealing with what it looks like to truly live in this world today as humanity 1.0 per se, with physical breath that we've been given every day. What does it look like to experience that heaven and earth overlap? The kingdom that has come but is also not yet fully here. We can experience that here if we do what Adam and Eve failed at. If we listen to, if we choose not to do whatever's right in our own eyes, then we get to experience the fullness that God has created us for on this earth until He has brought creation to its fullness in the new heaven and the new earth, in the new resurrected bodies. You asked what the army is. Well, if you're looking post the resurrection revelation, this is the new army. This is the new army. And in no ways do we look like the army of this world, because of course we don't. The army of this world says, I'm naked, you're naked, I'm going to take advantage of your nakedness. The army of God looks totally different. It says, take my coat. Let me lay myself down for you. And it becomes an unstoppable force. An absolute unstoppable force. So for him to use a military language like that, you know, and of course, if you live in this time and you're listening to it, you're like, great. Our new military is going to be able to rise up. They're going to be able to build a new wall with a sword in hand. And we're going to be able to conquer any Babylon or Egypt or Persia or Rome, whoever wants to come take over. And the reality is, like, that's not at all what he's talking about. In fact, we're just going to see it's kind of it's sort of a dud. Like, when they go back, it's like, this is not great. So, yeah. Any other questions?
You don't
Thoughts?
see selfishness as pride.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Everything you could see is a vein of pride, knowing better, I know better. But they were promised some things on the other side. If you will just betray the trust, he's not telling you the truth. He's holding back on you.
You're not gonna die.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
This
the
is
irony.
all of the things that you will be and have after.
The irony is they had that. You know, they were like God. They were learning from source. They were living eternally. They had access to the tree. That's exactly what God says. He's like, now they are like us. So then the result is we got to take them away from this living forever thing so that we can fix this problem, because they now have their eyes open. They now are like them, or like God. And ironically, all the promises that the serpent made, they already had. They just didn't see it. And their eyes weren't open to that reality. They had created their own idea. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Would somebody close us in prayer?
Father God, thank you again for this time. We have to study your word, Lord, and learn and discuss, and Lord, so we can apply to our lives and live the Christian life that we're supposed to be living, so that we can show your image to other people around us. Lord, I pray that you be with all those that are in our church that are sick or have lost loved ones or going through troubles. Lord, I pray that you just put your hand upon them and give them strength and peace. And Lord, I pray that you be with us as we go through this week. Help us to do the things that you would have us to do, so we can bring honor and glory to your name. It's all these things we ask in your name.